Good morning and welcome back to the Knuckle Dragon Billy Goat Review with Mike and Josh. I'm Mike,
And I am Josh.
and this is going to be another stellar episode on a beautiful Sunday morning. Uh, this morning, Josh, we're going to be talking about the moon landing and whether or not it was a hoax or not.
I have
And
one question. I have one question for you before we start this, Mike.
yeah, what's up?
If the moon was made of spare ribs, would you eat it? I would, and then I'd polish it off with a nice cold Budweiser. There you go, a little shout out to Harry Carey there. So go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, I'd fucking eat it.
Yeah, I'd polish it off with maybe 1-2 Budweisers. Cubs win. Cubs win.
All right, so let's kick it off with the first. What do you believe? Do you think we actually went?
Dude, you know what? It's funny. We were talking on our pre-show conference that we do every Sunday morning, and I wrote a paper about the faked, I'm using air quotes, faked moon landing. I'm not necessarily how I feel about it because all the information or misinformation that we get online, is it possible? Yes. Is it impossible? Yes. I don't know. So I kind of want to get your thoughts on it and kind of play both sides of the fence. You know, do you like that nice little political answer I gave you there?
Oh no, yeah. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with a. I'm leaning towards no. I don't think we went, man.
Uh-oh.
I don't think anybody's been there ever.
Yeah. Not even aliens.
Well, there is this one little theory I have that well, it's not my theory, but it's one that I believe in. Is that the moon is actually artificial, and there may be aliens that live in it. Have you heard that one?
I probably have. It's probably like the lizard people. I think one of these episodes we need to do like this like crazy far out like Alex Jones type conspiracy theorist. But it's kind of funny though with this, you know, about the conspiracy theory type stuff is that it shows here that there's a guy, let's see here, is a former Navy officer. And I like how they put it, you know, because they talk about this, how it just started. Basically, this guy wrote a book that said we never went to the moon, and then it has a full colon, not a semicolon. America's $30 billion swindle, and it's published in 1976, right?
Yeah.
But it goes through here and it says this guy has a Bachelor of Arts in English. Despite having no knowledge of rockets or technical writing, he was hired as a senior technical writer by Rocketdyne in 1956. Right, then it built the F1 engines used on the Saturn V rockets. He was a rocket man.
Wow.
So I guess he worked. He was the head of the technical writing department until 1963. But the book claims, right, that a successful moon landing was calculated at 0.0017%. So it's like what, 17 thousandths percent.
Oh yeah, send it.
Oh my gosh. And, you know, and then you go down to these flat earthers, and that's another subject. You know, they're like, oh, how do you go to the moon? It's not round. You can't land on it, blah, 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 blah. But I think during the time, too, we have to understand a lot of these conspiracies, Mike, are centered around the time of the Vietnam War. And as we've seen in media here, a lot of the times there's diversionary type tactics. So they make this space race. I mean, why is it such a race to get to a desolate rock? You know, like were we trying to like get there first so we could find the aliens that were in the middle of the moon? I mean, what do you think about that?
I don't know. I think it was just a different time back then, and it's hard to understand what they were really trying to do. But I like to think of it as more of a like a flex, you know?
like you're on the block, like you're in your neighborhood, and like the neighbor buys a lawnmower, so you buy like a bigger lawnmower to assert your alpha dominancy.
Yeah, you've got like a 6x6 square, and they bought like a new auto push mower that's got like the drive wheels in the back. So you buy a riding lawnmower to to do 2 little spins on to mow your whole lawn with.
It better be zero turn.
Yeah, right? But yeah, man, I mean, it could have just been like a United States flex, you know, like, oh no, we got there, we're good. Like that's literally it. We didn't do a whole lot of extra. What they say, you know, we just we went there, we landed, took a couple rocks, came back. Yeah, weird flex.
Yeah, it's kind of, yeah. I mean, it really is. And like you said, it was a different time. You know, you're talking 50s, 60s, 70s kids. You know, the ones that were had to practice. Like, here we're gonna get nuclear bombs, so we're gonna go out in the hallway and, you know, like put our head between our knees, or we're gonna get underneath our desk. That's gonna save us from nuclear fallout. And the Russians are bad. Not Russians. I'm sorry, Soviet Union. The what was it? The USSR at the time. You know,
Yeah.
all those little countries there. But what gets me is that, you know, it's it just seems like a weird jump in technology from the time, right? I mean, we're at the beginning of the 20th century. I mean, we basically have maybe some vaccines for polio. Um, we streamlined cars. I mean, I don't understand how you go from having cars that are streamlined in the 20s to having rocket ships in the 60s in 40 years time. I mean, I don't understand that.
Oh, I do. You want me to explain it for you really quick?
Yeah, please, sir.
Aliens.
The Illuminati.
Yeah, man. I mean, we got information from aliens, and they gave us all the info to go to the moon and build these rockets and things. I mean, we got it from freaking aliens, man. Look at Germany during World War II. They were building all kinds of weird techie stuff, and that's why we brought over their crazy scientists after the war. You know, we needed to get their alien knowledge.
Alien. Duh. You know what? And I think a lot of those guys too, especially, just kind of go off on a little tangent on this. You know, after the World War II, I've watched a lot of documentaries on that, and some of these scientists that they had over, and like maybe these dudes are just making shit up. They're like, well, I know this, you know, I know this thing, and then like they keep it so secret. And they're like, well, just come to America, buddy. This is great, good times. But a lot of these hoax here, right? It's JFK's fault. Is what I'm calling it. JFK. He didn't want to.
Gotta remember too. I mean, these didn't used to be called conspiracy theories. You know what I mean? Some of these things were proved accurate, and I think what was it? The CIA came up with the term conspiracy theory, wasn't it?
That's a good question. I do not know, but I bet Google knows. Let's see here.
Yeah, basically, people were coming up with these ideas that they were like, "Wait a minute, this isn't real. This is fake." And this doesn't necessarily go back to the moon landing, but what other things that happened with the government? Excuse me. And I thought it was the CIA that basically ran a campaign to say that, you know, these things are conspiracy theories and you shouldn't believe them, and basically gave the stigma of anybody that disagrees is crazy. Like, oh, they're just a conspiracy theorist. Oh, they're crazy. So
Well,
it's like you have to disbelieve it.
you know, I think it's more so it's like a psychological thing. You know what I'm saying? It
Yeah.
shows paranoia. You know, you say, well, "Oh my gosh," you know, somebody if we sit out here and say, "Well, you're conspiracy," if somebody comes to me and says, "Well, I'm a conspiracy theorist," I'm just like, "Oh boy, here we go again." You
Yeah.
know, but it looks like this term wasn't used until like 1909. Oh, sorry, no. Actually, it was put in the American Historical Review in 1909, right, as the earliest usage, but it looks like it appears in 1870 almost. But funnily enough, the Latin for it,
Yeah, but go ahead.
oh, sorry, the Latin for it means to breathe together.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, that's fucking stupid.
Yeah, but I don't think it was used in the sense that we're using it back then. I think that
No,
didn't start until I'm pretty sure it was the CIA, man. I'm trying to look it up right now.
no, you're pretty close. It looks like here it says that it didn't really enter like United States language more so like everyday type thing until 64, and that was basically under the Warren Commission, and that was under
Yep.
Kennedy, right? Established by Johnson prior. And that was more so to have the assassination to look through to the assassination of it. Of course, I mean this is the nice. Yep, you're exactly right. CIA, a lot of CIA stuff with this. You know, it's like it's just a freaking slippery slope, my man.
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty sure I read they basically were like, okay. I mean, because civilians started getting like worried about if the government was telling the truth or not. Or these theories, these ideas, and they're basically saying like, actually, this could not be true because of this or whatnot, And they started this little campaign of calling them conspiracy theorists, and it basically was a way to discredit them. Call them crazy, and then nobody will believe them. Whether or not it's true or not. They could be completely true, and so what? He's just a conspiracy theorist. Look at what was his name? Oh man, who's that? Not Joe Rogan. Who's that other crazy guy? Alex Jones.
Yeah.
Look at Alex Jones. Yeah, I mean, he's had some pretty wild claims, but some of them come true, man. And sometimes he's right. But either way, regardless, he's called a conspiracy theorist and like this crazy radical guy. Yeah, he is crazy and radical sometimes. Well, most times.
They're harvesting babies for parts.
Yeah, well, come to find out, he's right.
I know. Isn't that crazy? Like some of that stuff it comes to fruition. And it's just sometimes, I mean, I don't think anybody could be 100% right all the time, which would be awesome if you could be. But I think more so with that, is that there's so many theories that we feel that are like, I wouldn't even say unpopular, but just like unfounded in a way where you just don't take it seriously. And then you have a guy that some things do line up. And you're like, here. But it's funny, we're talking about the CIA on this, is that they were basically instructed to give, quote, passive, reactive, and selective assistance to the Warren Commission in order to keep the commission focused on, quote, what the agency believed at the time was the best truth. That gives me warm fuzzies about my government.
So, excuse me. So back to the moon landing. What makes you think we actually went?
Well, you know what? Some of the stuff here, I'm the type like I want to fly to the moon and see if like we have flags posted on the moon. You know what I'm saying? I've read some stuff out of the 6 Apollo missions that they had from let's say 69 to 72, right? Let's see. There's flags first of all, so there's some sort of physical evidence that's on the moon itself. That's my.
Can you see it from Earth?
Well, obviously not. That's why you got to put in a rocket ship. Like you got to take me to the moon. But here's the main flaw in a lot of this, right? Just think about it, right? NASA is a huge organization, and probably at the time, let's just say they have 200,000 people working for them, right?
Right.
How even with that, like with 200,000 people, they're not going to keep quiet about people going to the fucking moon. They're just not. Somebody's going to be like, well, actually, or not going to the moon. I just don't see how you keep a hoax, about going to the moon or not going to the moon for, basically 50 years and people not saying anything about it. But, but the same token, though, what about Area 51? If we're talking extraterrestrial type stuff and a lot of hush hush stuff, I mean, Area 51, they fly people in a plane from Vegas into Area 51 and they come back and they don't talk about it. And they have these do not talk about things. I mean, you brought up a good point when we started the conversation about is a different time then. Maybe they thought it was a national security measure. Like I can not talk about this or the Soviets are going to win and the lizard people are going to eat my children and all that, that's kind of the two main things. I think I remember too about there's a belt. There's a certain, I guess they call it asteroid belt. What's that? The Van
Allen radiation belt. No asteroids, just radiation.
All right, maybe I just wanted to think asteroids. That'd be hot.
No, we're not Saturn. Doesn't Saturn have like some weird asteroid belt? I don't know.
Yeah.
Look, I don't do planets, okay?
Yeah, fuck it. No, we just let it ride. But it's strange though. But a lot of times too, it looks like, first of all, the evidence of somebody landing on the moon. Here's what I think, right? I think we did land on the moon, okay? But the cameras at the time, you can't take pictures out there. It's not like, hey, here we are on the moon and here's video evidence of us on the moon and things like that. The film was such an inferior thing at the time, but we wanted to have that, not recommendation, but that memento of us actually being there. So we have pictures taken and we have videos taken in a plant site in Hollywood what do they call that? Movie studio. Sorry, Jesus, I can't think this morning. But we're having pictures taken in there to show what it would look like without having to go there and to have to sit there and actually get somebody hurt trying to get photos on the moon. I know it's a little far fetched, but
all right. So let me clear this up and kind of, I guess, maybe make sure I understand what you're saying. You're saying we did go to the moon, but they took the pictures and video in a movie studio.
Correct.
Because they couldn't actually get the cameras there. So
no. They could get the cameras there, but the quality of the photographs that they would have there were inferior. Think about it. You're going to a place for the first time, you know, like you're basically just like shoestringing it together. Now we have the technology. If they were to go to the moon, it would be fine. We know what the composition of the atmosphere is. We know this. We know certain things that work and don't work, and the advancement in photographic technology. I think if we were to go to the moon now, we could have like a live streaming feed from there. But at the time,
HD,
yeah, dude, like 4K, LCD, LED, LSD, whatever type
DMT.
of DMT. Yeah, that's funny, moon landing. But have you ever tried DMT?
Oh, that's funny.
But yeah, I mean that's kind of how I feel about it. But more so, it's the proverbial national flex.
Well, yeah, but okay, so here's kind of my problem now, right? So if you're gonna say that you believe we went to the moon, but you also believe that the pictures were taken in a movie studio, doesn't that then dismiss the other claims that people have? So if I were to say, well, how come the moon lander didn't leave a thrust crater below where they landed? Is that just going to be, well, because they were in a movie studio? And now that you kind of negate the actual issue there by just, doing a blanket statement of, well, they were in a movie studio, they couldn't replicate that.
How do we know? It's not real time. Not real time, my man.
Well, yeah, I know, but I mean, okay, so there's pictures out there of them on the moon after the lander has landed. And to land, they had to thrust to stop themselves from crashing into the moon. So they had to do like a controlled burn to slowly descend. So from what we know about the moon, it's like a soft powder or whatnot, you would have seen some sort of blast crater underneath, would you not?
I guess so. I'm not an astrophysicist, but that does seem likely, maybe.
And then I got another one for you here. I'll skip forward a little bit in the moon stuff.
Moon.
Yeah. Did you know that when they take off, right? So I think what they do is they release the lander once they get so high, and the lander just pretty much crashes into the moon. When they did this, the moon echoed. It vibrated for like a couple minutes. Did you know that?
I did not.
Yeah, so they tried it again on another mission, and they dropped. I can't remember what they dropped. Maybe the lander again. They dropped something from higher up, and they said the moon rang like a bell for, I thought they said hours. So there are suspicions that the moon is actually hollow, because if it wasn't hollow, it wouldn't do that.
Right, of course, and and the gravity, specific gravity of it, and all that. Yeah, this definitely, it's definitely.
So how do you explain that?
How do I explain the moon being hollow? Well, when stuff isn't in the middle of something, it becomes hollow. It's crazy. I don't know, man. Like I've never heard that one. I don't have any information of knowing that. That's a very, very interesting ideal, I would say.
Well, I'm looking it up right now because I know I read this.
Yeah, you're
they did a test on it.
You're pushing my shit in on this today. I like it. I like it. Let's see here.
Okay, here we go. Let me read this to you. This is it.
Read it.
It says between 1972 and 1977, seismometers, I'm probably reading that wrong, installed on the moon by the Apollo missions recording moonquakes. The moon was described as ringing like a bell during some of those quakes, specifically the shallow ones. This phrase was brought to popular attention in March of 1970 in an article in Popular Science. When Apollo 12 deliberately crashed the ascent stage of its lunar module onto the moon's surface, it was claimed that the moon ran, leading to arguments that it must be hollow like a bell. Lunar seismology experiments since then have shown that the lunar body has shallow moonquakes that act differently from quakes on Earth due to differences in texture, type, and density. Okay, well, whatever. It's still hollow to me, but there is no evidence of any large empty space inside the body. So it does ring like a bell. There are people that think it's hollow. Don't listen to that last sentence because it's just vague.
Oh yeah. And here's the thing.
It's all speculation.
You know what? And I do think we landed on it, and my ideals of it are kind of loosely put on just certain items. But here's the thing too, right? So we go here, we landed, we didn't land on this. Why aren't we still researching the moon as a viable option of taking people to? You know, essentially our planet, we're going to overstrip a lot of the food making properties. You know, the ozone's going to shit. Glaciers are freezing into the ocean, whatever type deal. You know, at the time, that it's such a viable option to look at. Maybe we start a colony here on the moon, and we haven't done a fucking thing. We haven't done anything. We put some rovers on there. We've gone to Mars. We've sent exploratory satellites and things past our solar system, or you know, things like that. It's like, what? And why aren't we going to the moon?
Well, okay, so hypothetically, let's say we did go to the moon the first time. Is it possible that it's just dead? I mean, there's just nothing, right? I mean, what if it's just so inhabitable you just can't go? I mean, look at the atmosphere, like, right? I mean, from what we're told, it's there isn't really a whole lot of atmosphere there. Gravity is a lot less, and it's just like dirt. There's just not a whole lot there. I mean, you got to think, right? The moon was allegedly, I'm going to say allegedly, the moon was allegedly created from the Earth, right? It was an impact, and the Earth or the moon basically got spit out from leftover stuff from the Earth and then formed its own little moon.
Huh. Interesting. Hey, when we were talking earlier, I found the stat on this. We probably should have said this earlier, but only 7% of the population in the United States believe that the moon landing was faked. We're talking the 6 Apollo missions from 69 to 72.
Oh, that's it. It's only 7%.
Well, according to this, anyways, we know how this. We know how statistics lie. It's probably a little higher. I would say. I would probably say at least 20. If you had to ask, you know, you have people that couldn't say, like me. I can't fully substantiate that we did go to the moon or didn't go to the moon. I'm kind of riding the fence, and more so for the purpose of our program this morning. I'm trying to be pro moon landing, but I just, to me, it's inconclusive. I mean, to me, really, I mean, it's inconclusive because I just, first of all, I don't have the education on it.
Well, right.
Really, you know, and then second of all, it's like, okay, here's like some pictures and here's like some writing, and then we just go away from it. And it really shows the disinterest of the country more so during the time of these Apollo missions, like in this, let's just say 10 or 12 year span, right? The funding for NASA decreased 43.2%. You know what was going on in 69 to 72? Vietnam. Yeah, so think about it there. We're sitting there. We gotta put all this money in. We gotta put all this money in to fight rice farmers in North Vietnam, and we just forget about the moon. Or maybe kind of like what you're saying, right, that we go to the moon, we see that it's just not a viable place to go, just to keep interest and ideals off of Vietnam and the tumultuosity of that situation at the time. We just say, oh, we're still sending stuff to the moon, and people are like, awesome, the moon's great. We're gonna, you know, because going to the moon was a big thing, Mike. I've talked to people that were kids during this time And they're like, dude, they used to like pull TVs in, and we watched like the space shuttles being blasted off into space. I mean, it was a big deal.
Yeah. No, I remember asking my this was probably within the last 2 years. I asked my grandparents about it, and surprisingly, neither one of them believe we went to the moon. I was actually really surprised.
Really? Why is that?
Yeah. My grandmother said, she said, and I'll do it in her voice. She said, no, she said she watched it on TV and she was like, it looked extremely fake.
Well, I think like it's like here you go, like you're watching some of these like Eastern European shows that are just like, oh, subtitles are dubbed. You know, I could see it for the time.
She did. She said it just looked really fake.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny. And your grandfather thinks the same, huh?
Yeah. Yep.
Huh. Let me see here. The cameras. I was trying to find some information on the cameras here, right? Proponents. It says proponents of this hoax theory insist that no star is invisible in any of the footage or photographs taken on the moon, right? Which is true. It says it says taking any image at night, you'll rarely see stars in the sky. That's because stars are faint things, which is why we can't see them, obviously, right?
Right.
So it takes us time to adjust to this. It says cameras had the same issue with it, exposure wise, anyways. Like I said, I mean, we're still using like old school cameras. Like you could see pictures of like one of these astronauts, and he probably has like a 40-pound camera strapped to his chest while he's outside the moon. Like it's crazy, man. And you know, the technology on that. So the photos, that's inconclusive. What else we got here?
They also talk about so back to the Van Allen radiation belt. So there's been some people in the past that pulled all the public records from the missions, and they, you know, everything is inventoried, right? So this is how many of this is what materials were used on the space shuttles, and you know, that type of stuff. So there's a huge list of public information out there of what was actually taken up there. And one thing that people noticed was there was no radiation protection ever listed. So if that's the case, how do you get through the radiation belt? Because from my understanding, it would be like getting hundreds of x-rays in a minute.
Yeah, I mean that's interesting, you know, because we don't know how the health of these guys are after the fact.
One dude's still alive, isn't he? Buzz Aldrin or whatever.
Yeah, well, yeah, you know, and then he had like John Glenn and stuff, and folks like that went, you know, to the moon, or supposedly went to the moon, or supposedly just even going into space itself. I mean, you don't have to go to the moon to be experiencing such that radiation, like you're saying, going through that belt.
Right.
So what's that put at? So all these people that go into space, so that kind of supports a theory of mine. You know, if they're going into space, we have all these people going to space, then why aren't we having people drop dead from radiation poisoning? It shows there has to be material that does its anti-radiant, anti-radiation, whatever you want to call that. It has to be, and maybe it was probably, you know, secret technology at the time or whatever. You know, they didn't want the Russians to know they had that going on. I know I'm going a little left field with this, but I mean, that could be the argument on that. You know, why show everything? Why show you all your cards?
Well, back then they didn't, right? I mean, that wasn't public knowledge until like, you know, decades later.
Right.
So, I mean, they wouldn't have had to have hid it because it wasn't public knowledge anyway. And back to what you were saying about how, you know, how could you keep it a secret from so many people, you know, while they're actually doing this stuff? I mean, I think we've seen this in the military. You know, they'll compartmentalize a lot of things, so you're only working on one small aspect. You know what I mean? Like, you're just so focused on your one little task, you're oblivious to how everything else works. You know, you're a subject matter expert on this one thing. And they do this with you know, current projects today. They, you know, those black projects or whatever you want to call them. And you'll basically be hired just to do one specific thing. You don't get to see the full picture. And I think that's what they do down in Area 51. You know, they
like
keep
one guy puts a nut and a bolt in that part, and then it's put down, and somebody like sprays a piece of paint, and then it's put down.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I mean, there's ways to do that. I mean, and the military's pretty good at it, you know, if they don't want you giving their secrets away, I mean, they only give you access to very, very small details in a bigger picture.
Yeah,
So I think
and
it's possible.
here's what you're making me think now too, and like I am totally on your side on this now. It seems like, and some of these theories, obviously, but yeah, I mean, a lot of this probably was carment, you know, put together like you're saying, carment. I cannot talk today.
Car- Compartmentalized.
Compartmentalized. There we go. I'm mental something, but yeah. I mean, these top people at the very, very top may have known this, or very well did know this, that like this is basically a suicide mission. We're not sending people to the moon, but how can we make it look like this? And they die with that secret instead of saying, okay, you know, hey, everybody, we're working on this fake project and tell 200,000 people that. I mean, you're basically, that's not going to happen.
Yeah. And I mean, what if the first time they tried to go to the moon, you know, during these first the first couple Apollo missions, I think that's what they were, right? They
Yeah,
did a
Apollo missions. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what if they realized then like, hey man, people are coming back like getting really sick. They're like, we can't actually go. Like we don't know why they're getting sick yet. They don't maybe they didn't know about the Van Halen belt's full extent of radiation and you know, maybe they were coming back sick and they're like, dude, shit, we can't actually go. But what do we do now because we've already funded this and basically said we're going. Can't back out now.
Yeah. Well, you know, here's the thing too. You know, a lot of these projects and whatever, they sent animals into space, dude. Like they're
Yeah.
like, here, Johnny Chimpo, we're gonna set you up in a thing, and here you go. And I never hear anything about these animals after the fact. You know,
Yeah, I think they sent
they go to
a
space.
monkey and a dog, right?
Yeah, monkey and a dog. You know, and like here you go, just go around. Like how fucking frightening would that have to be, man? Like you're a dog licking your sack one day, and the next day you're strapped into a rocket going into space. I mean, that has to be fucking far out, man.
Like, I didn't sign up for this.
Yeah, like I want to talk to my lawyer.
Yeah, and then, another thing too is there's all these YouTube videos out there of, obviously people making claims, but even NASA has had some videos out there of, astronauts in the space station saying, "We can't go back to the moon." So with today's technology, they're saying we can't go to the moon. Why is that? How come today they're telling us we can't actually go to the moon? Did you know that? Have you seen those videos?
No, I have not.
Oh, dude, I'll look a link up and send it to you. But yeah, NASA has said we can't go to the moon.
Well, yeah, we're not funded for it.
Oh, that's not what you're saying.
Oh, here we go. Hey, look at this, right? It says why getting back to the moon is so damn hard. This is actually a technology review from MIT, right? And this is written like recently, like last year in April, right?
Yeah.
Let's see what we got here. Oh, and they're like giving a project away. Like, here you go. We'll give you so much money if you can like design something that gets on the moon. But it's like, here you go. This is a quote I like right here. It says, people landed on the moon in 1969, so we have proof that's an attainable goal. Why can't it be easily repeated from 49 years ago?
Oh,
Yeah.
all right.
Oh, God.
All right, I'm sending you a link. It's 52 seconds long. Watch this guy.
Are you going to send it?
I'm sending it. Watch this guy tell us that we can't go to the moon.
Oh, gosh. Is it like some dude like outside? Let me see here. So
No,
he
it's
he has a
go ahead.
tie on.
Yeah, his name is Don Pettit. He's a NASA astronaut.
An astronaut. This guy looks like a freaking psychonaut.
Don't be a hater. Just tell us what you hear. I do believe he says we don't have the technology to go to the moon anymore. But how do we not have the technology?
I don't know. Like,
We're going to freaking Mars, man. How do we not have the technology to go to the stupid moon?
yeah. Like the moon's like super closer.
I mean, I can see the moon. I can't see Mars that well.
This dude is batshit crazy. Like, I'm just gonna disregard this video. You can see it in his eyes. This guy's high on drugs.
Oh, come on now.
I don't know. Let's see. I mean, it could be at the time though too. I really do think at its core it's a flex. You know what I'm saying? It's not like, oh, let's go to the moon just because of the betterment of society. It's like, let's go to the moon so we show we're better than the Russians. You know, like that's why we make airplanes. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, you guys made this type of airplane. You made a P-47 Lightning or P-51 Lightning or something like that, and with that actually has a jet engine in it. So we're gonna make a MiG whatever 21, 19, and it's just kind of that proverbial one-uppingness of stuff like that. And like I said, I mean, at the time, going to the moon, if you hype something up enough, people are going to get behind it. Even then, even with that being a different time on this, but I don't get it. And then you have these articles now. It's like, oh my gosh! Like I'm just reading this. Check this out, right?
Yeah.
So we talk about going to the moon and stuff, and they're like, well, it's not cheap. The Saturn V rocket that was used in the Apollo program would cost $1.16 billion today.
That's 1/5 of the wall.
Yeah, fuck you. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Right.
Who cares?
Let's see here. They're like, well,
what's our budget?
Rockets are expensive, but like, if they really felt that the moon was a viable option to like prolong society on or whatever, I mean, that's just a drop in the bucket. Just a drop in the bucket.
I know. I sent you another link. Okay, it's a longer video. It's a longer video, so you don't have to watch the whole thing now. And for the listeners out there, we'll eventually get to a point where you can hear and see the things that we're looking up, because it's kind of comical sometimes.
It's pretty funny. Basically, it's like you're at work. This is more so like a fancier. You're at work and somebody's looking at something on Google, and then somebody's else like, "Hey, look at this," and then we're looking at stuff together, collaboratively. Anyways, I just, for the betterment of man, it would be great to go to moon or explore options outside of this planet, obviously. But financially, that's what a lot of this comes down to, is money. And I want to know where NASA had the money at the time to make this stuff, because, if they say, well, in the dollars today, it'd be close to 1.15 or 1.6 billion dollars.
Right.
It has to be similar then. It's not like these resources and labor and stuff are just like cheapened because it's a cheaper time. It doesn't matter per inflation. I mean, what the hell,
Yeah. So, so for the listeners out there, the second link that I sent Josh, the title is NASA Engineer Admits They Can't Get Past the Van Allen Belts. So you guys can look that up on YouTube. It's interesting. It's like 11 minutes long, and this guy explains why we can't get past the Van Allen belt. And he works with NASA.
Holy cow. Like I'm kind of like watching some of this right now, and it is interesting. Orion.
Yeah, I mean, so if they're trying to tell us that we can't get past it now, how did we have better technology back then to get past it? Okay, so I'm not a full believer that we actually didn't go to the moon. Okay, so that's a full disclaimer, right? It is highly probable that we did actually go to the moon, but it is very suspicious to me that there are videos out there of NASA. I mean, this is a fairly recent video. I mean, this isn't too long ago. This is in the the 2000s. So how are they telling us now that we can't go through the Van Allen belt? And that's a problem. What's the issue there?
Let me see. It says here, if I go about 4 minutes in, it starts talking about the Van Allen belt. I'm going to pull this up real quick. Yeah, this video that was published in 2016. So, I mean, it's probably mid 2000s. Let's see here. 20,000 miles an hour going through this belt. Hot plasma.
It was fake. Maybe the Van Allen belt's fake.
Maybe. Let's see here. Dude, this is like the music on this video for you folks is like, this has me jacked, dude. Like, I am so pumped right now. Carefully instructed heat shield. And dude, like, and it's not even like a fully encompassing heat shield. It's like at the bottom of this like teardropped shuttle. Like, what happens if the thing like flipped over, you know? Like, what if it just like caught adrift or something? Like, here you go, you're gonna burn alive.
I think it blows up.
Yeah, it's like boop. Holy cow. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, it's this is funky. This is one of these topics like I'm on the fence about, but the more so I look at it, I'm just like, meh.
Well, I mean, yeah, and I mean, like you were saying, I mean, let's say you know it really was recorded in a movie studio. I mean that just makes it even more difficult to believe because people have analyzed these videos and these photos for years, and there's some of them do look weird. Like, why is the flag moving the way it is? If there's no gravity.
Hey, well, hey, there we go. I'm glad you brought that up. Let's see. I was looking at the flag stuff here. Let's see. According, I guess on Mythbusters they did this, and it reacted the same way that it should have, according to a video. Anyways, let's see here. Come on.
How could you reenact that on Mythbusters? I'm not sure.
Well, yeah, in a vacuum, the moon is basically it's a low gravity type state, and essentially it's in a vacuum as well. So I guess with the pressures here, there we go. The U.S. flag planted on the moon visibly shakes when handled. Right. This is claimed to be evidence of wind, therefore proof that it was filmed on Earth rather than in the vacuum of space. So I guess vacuum here is the word, right? The vacuum of space is exactly why you can see it wave the way it does, right? So we see it on the video there. You know, Buzz Aldrin is out there, or sorry, Neil Armstrong's out there doing the damn thing, and it has some sort of weird flap thing, and we're like, oh my gosh, what's going on here? You know, it comes down to that environment and the camera that we supposedly have or don't have, anyways. But it says here, Mythbusters demonstrated this effect by waving a flag in a vacuum chamber, comparing the motion and air around it with the vacuum, right? So it shows the exact same behavior.
Well, right, but that kind of proves the point, right? So here's my thing. If you do a vacuum chamber here on Earth, you're not taking away gravity. You're just putting it in a no wind situation. You still have gravity here that can make it do that.
Well, that's true. Well, you have an dulled sense of gravity. Like there's not gravity on the moon, I guess. You know what I'm saying? It's just at a decreased rate. So like let's say you weigh 100 pounds on Earth, you go to the moon and you weigh 20, 30 pounds.
Okay.
So it says when this flag's seen moving in the way it's moving, it is attributed to the presence of air, not the lack of it, as the case when the motion is examined more closely.
Okay. Well, all right. So you got me on that one. So there's actually
foiled your plan. Like I found like one thing
worth it. There's other videos too of like an accessory bag on the outside of the lander swinging. I mean, just constantly swinging. This guy, whoever's in there digging in it, lets go of it, and it's just swinging. I mean, back and forth, and then you can hear them have some radio communication, and they kind of go like, "Oops," and they grab it and make it stop swinging.
We're like, hey, could you stop moving? Was it like moving like it would on Earth, like something swinging? I mean,
yeah, it was like full blown swinging. Pretty interesting video. And then, you know, like I was saying, people have analyzed these pictures and videos for a long time, and I mean, in some of them, you can see different shadows on the rocks. Like some of them are facing one way, and some are facing the other way. And what NASA's come out and tried to say is that, well, due to the lack of atmosphere on the moon, you do get some weird refracting of light. So it does kind of look at times like shadows come from other spots. And I'm like, well, the brightest thing in the sky there is going to be the sun, and that's going to be coming from one direction. I don't care what you're talking about. The sun should overpower any other light. So how do you want to talk about that? Debunk that.
Pass. Hard pass. Look at this. Okay, so like this is arguments against a conspiracy, right? These are people that supposedly think this is real, right?
Yeah.
First one. So it's hard to bribe people for 40 years to be silent about stuff. That's false. It's
Yeah.
basically what you talked about. You compartmentalize. There we go. Um, Folks in this, you keep them out of the loop on things. Yeah,
Yeah.
and even with the Soviets too. Like I said, I mean, it's the same thing. They're like,
Well, look what the Soviets did. I mean, the Soviets made it sound like they were doing amazing. And then come to find out years later, they fucking sucked. They were blowing rockets up all the time and they never actually did the things that they said they did. They actually produced the recordings of them faking it.
oh
I
yeah,
mean, it's not impossible. It was done. And we believed them. You know, we were like, oh my God, we got to speed up because they're always ahead of us. Like every time we do something, they're already one step ahead. Well, they were faking it. They sucked. They didn't have anything.
yeah. Like here you go. It's like playing poker, right? And you're sitting here and you're down to a final two, and somebody's just hardcore bluffing the shit out of you, but you believe in the tiniest sense that they could be right. And to fuel this Cold War propaganda after World War II, I mean, this is great. This is great publicity. This gets people's minds off the state of the nation. This gets people's minds off. You know, you had the Korean War in the 50s. 60s come around, you got all these hippies and shit, and then Vietnam starts. Vietnam actually started in 59. Our involvement was until I think like 65 or something like that, if I remember right. But and you're just going there like, meh, we got all this other stuff going on, but hey, we want to feel good at kicking the Soviets asses. I mean, that's what it comes down to. It comes to proverbial dick showing game, as I like to call it.
Oh yeah, I'd win. If it was me and you, I'd win.
7 inches around. Just think about it. Well, what kind of other ones? So I guess, Mike, I know what your position is on this. Mine, for the sake of the show today, you know, I try to take a pro landing um, view on it, but I just not. I am not confidently impressed. I guess that's what I should say. I'm not confidently impressed with the information that we do have to prove that, you know, substantially we have gone to the moon. You know, maybe we have, maybe we haven't. I don't know, but I can't tell you one way or the other, to be quite honest with you. And I think I'm more so aligned with you on it that it could be possibly faked.
Yeah. So I'll give you my little final thoughts here on it. I mean, it's a high probability that we actually went. But there is supporting evidence of the other side of that, of maybe we didn't go. I mean, I do fully believe that we didn't take cameras up there, and the footage that we have of it in the pictures aren't actually from the moon. Um, I do believe. I think you're right. I mean, it's possible that it was done in a movie studio, and that's okay. I wouldn't think any less of them. I would be like, oh, that makes more sense than what you're telling me right now, and that would probably make me believe more that we did go to the moon. They're like, look, here's all the data that shows we went to the moon. Sorry, the pictures and stuff we had to do in a studio, you know, due to the technologies that we had at the time. So that's kind of my standpoint on it. I mean, I would assume we probably went, um, but I don't really know. I don't know. I'm leaning more towards we went though.
There you go. And I'm kind of getting to the point where it's like there's a fine line. There's a line. I'm going to straddle the line here. I just wish there was more conclusive evidence. You know what I'm saying? And if it was such a
Yeah.
and if it was such a thing now, like money shouldn't be an issue for, you know, technological advancement. You can send somebody to the moon, even if it has to be like Elon Musk, SpaceX group, or somebody private like, you know, Richard Branson. You know, somebody
Mhm.
that just is like, hey, here's the technology. I have the money for the sake of philanthropy. I am going to send somebody to the moon, and I am going to get this conclusive evidence and put this to bed. And nobody's ever did that, and it just seems really, 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 really weird. Actually, let's see. Da. Hey, my stats I gave you earlier. Check this out. Is actually For the people that believe that we hadn't went to the moon in America alone, it's 6 to 20%, right?
Okay.
25% of British folk and 28% of Russians believe that the moon landings were faked. This is even as late as 2001.
Yeah, I mean, do you think the Russians at the time, or sorry, the USSR population believed that they were actually doing better than they thought, and that their government was actually doing really well,
Dude,
but in reality they were faking it?
all they gave a shit about was getting bread and potatoes. Like the quality of life in the USSR was shit. It's still shit today in a lot of these countries, but it's better than what it was under the rule of communism. So I don't think they really give a fuck one way or the other. Maybe they have some sort of national pride, and it's like, well, we're gonna spank the pants off the Americans, and maybe it's that Cold War type tension. But you remember, I mean, you see on TV with like North Korea and how they like parade missiles and shit through Pyongyang and stuff like that. That's essentially what the Russians did. I mean, that's essentially what
that's a big flex.
It's like, here you go. Like, and more so, it gets me the old like locker room talk, right? Usually the person that talks the loudest and is like the most extreme in a place is like the person that's not going to do shit or hasn't done shit. You know what I'm saying? Like,
oh yeah,
like you got to be like, you have to be concerned about the quiet folks. You know, if somebody's like, yeah, we went to the moon and like it was cool and that's it, that's the ones I'm going to believe. Instead of saying, well, here we go, like we sent Johnny Chimpo to space, and then we sent, you know, Yuri whatever to space, and then we sent John Williams to space. It's like, come on, man. I mean, it's really just a political flex, I believe. But here's so too is like, dude, NASA destroyed evidence. I can't believe we didn't even quite get to this. They destroyed evidence, photos, tapes, radio and TV, moon rock samples. And I mean, you could go as far as like killing witnesses. I'm not going to say that because I mean that's silly, but like
they knew too much.
Yes. And they said, well, these various groups, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, even in a perfect system like that, you know, we've worked in a government setting. I mean, it's super easy to lose stuff. You know, like, hey, I lost your finance papers. Come fill them out like 800 times.
That happens a lot.
Dude, quite a bit. So I just wish, like, why don't we just have a third party that goes, you know what I'm saying, Mike, to like clear it, debunk it once and for all. Like we have multinational group. Like if going to the moon is such a great thing for humankind, we could have like 100 countries pitch in, you know, $10 million. Now we can send some motherfuckers to the moon and say, yeah, this is cool, or no, this isn't cool. And then like put some rocks, put up a nice flag, put up a little capsule. So when the aliens come, they can listen to like Space Odyssey 2001 or, you know, just something like that.
Put up a Baskin Robbins and a Little Caesars.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Taco Bell, so the aliens get space diarrhea.
Yeah, for sure. All right, man. Let's close this out. You got any final thoughts on it?
Yeah, I don't know. Basically for this, like, I don't know. And I wish even with all the evidence I've looked at, I just don't know. And that's what kills me. I like to be kind of black or white on this. And I don't know. Yeah, I'm kind of in your boat too. I'm going to flop positions one more time while we're on here. Yeah, we probably did we land on the moon? Quite possibly. With some shady things taken about in the program. Yes. My thing is it's taken 49 years about a lot of this. And there's folks that saying we haven't even went, and there's nothing that substantially proves that we did go, that stops a lot of this information. Because like a lot of this is just unknown. Well, we sent a few missions up there and it hasn't been like completely checked out. You know, yeah, we have a space station up there where we send astronauts, but that's well within our orbit of Earth. Right. You know, so I don't know. I hope it's not a lie, but as we've seen with our government and the governments of the world, it's easier to lie about stuff and kind of talk about the best truth, as we saw from the CIA and the Warren Commission after Kennedy's death. Maybe it's the best truth for the public. So my thought is flip a coin. Maybe we went to the moon, maybe we didn't. I don't know.
All right. I'm gonna go with aliens, man.
In the hollow moon.
Yeah, there's aliens in the hollow moon. But for all of our listeners out there, I mean, hit us up on Facebook or SoundCloud. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. I'd love to hear what everybody else thinks, man. Did we go to the moon or did we not go to the moon? Is it aliens? Is it hollow? Not really sure.
Lizard people.
Yeah, but you can check us out on Facebook at the Knuckle Dragon Billy Goat Review, or you'll hit us up on SoundCloud or iTunes, soon to be YouTube, so watch out for that. We'll talk to you guys next time.